Okay, welcome everyone to episode 19 of our What If interview series, where we discuss and share knowledge on customer experience, digital transformation, and how to better serve customers via digital channels. And my name's Luke Stamper, and I'm a content marketing executive for Mando. We're a digital agency committed to simplifying digital experiences for everyone. We work within regulated industries with energy, utilities, and financial services companies, focusing on helping those customers to do things that they don't really want to do. So we don't all wake up on a Saturday morning really excited about getting up and paying our water bill or submitting an insurance claim. We make those experiences easier, giving time back to customers so that they can do more exciting things. So today, our title is, what if a new digital platform could unlock a 299% ROI? And we're joined by Optimize's product strategy manager, Chris Purcell. Chris lives to challenge the status quo. An accountant turned product strategist. He's been on both sides of the fence when it comes to implementing system changes, and now he uses that experience to shape solutions for businesses to go through their own transformation in the areas of digital operations and customer experiences. Before we get started, just to let you all know that we also have my Mando colleague, Rob I'm trying to get his name right there, Rob McFarlane, on the call with us today. Rob will be helping with logistics and monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to send them in to the Q&A section, and Rob will ask them at the end of today's discussion. We'll be chatting for around 20 minutes-ish, and then we'll move on to some questions or comments. So thank you for waiting for me there, Chris. Good morning to you. Please, can you introduce yourself a little bit and give us some information surrounding your background?
Sure. Well, you did a great job of it anyway, Luke. But yes, my name is Chris Purcell. I'm a product strategist at Optimize, formerly Episerver, and my role is really around helping businesses understand what they can do in the world of digital transformation. I think a lot of people recognize they need to be doing something, not necessarily what that is kind of where my role is to help businesses understand that, what's possible, how they can achieve a great, you alluded to already, customer experience through digital channels.
Cool. Thank you very much. So in recent episodes of our What If webinar series, I've started out with a couple of stats surrounding each topic, and I've found that it's been a really effective way to start the conversation and sort of set the scene of the issue that we'll be discussing throughout the course of the webinar. So with that in mind, I found a few poignant stats regarding legacy systems and what pitfalls they can cause. So on average, 31% of an organization's technology is made up of legacy systems, and maintaining those systems is extremely costly, consuming an average of 60 to 80% of IT budgets, which is a whopping figure. And over 90% of consumers would rather switch providers than stay with a company that is using outdated technology. To kick us off, Chris, how would you describe the issues that you encounter around legacy systems, and what are the sort of pitfalls that customers experience?
Yeah, so I think your stats kind of tell the story a little bit, but it's really around those companies that do have the legacy systems, and you say it's nearly a third of all organizations that are running some sort of legacy systems, is the problems internally relate to obviously the cost perspective, but mainly around the speed and ease of getting things done. Those legacy systems are much more cumbersome than some of the latest ones that have been around today. So getting those done, but the main issue is they're not really built for the world of interconnectivity. So you end up with loads of siloed information in different parts of the organization, in various different systems, and you're then trying to play catch up and Scrabble to bring that all together to make sense of any of this data. And what we see a lot of the time when we're speaking to these organizations is companies that are they're stuck with their legacy systems. They then try and bend what they're doing around the technology. So the technology is kind of the barrier. So they go, okay, well, let's try and do what we do within the confines of the technology that we have, which isn't a great way to run your business. What you should be doing is using the technology to enable what it is you want to actually do. And that's a very, very common pitfall that we see, is companies trying to bend to fit their systems rather than the systems bending to fit them. And what that translates to, as your stat alluded to, I don't think you say 90% of customers would rather switch providers than stay with a company that has outdated technology. Those consumers don't know you have outdated technology. They only know the experience that they have, and that's what it externally translates as. It externally translates to being very difficult to. You're not getting that rich, engaging experience that you might expect from a company, and that's what turns you off from them. You don't know what they're running in the background, but you know the experience you have, and that's what having those legacy systems translates to the end user.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I think, as someone going on as a customer, you wouldn't realize that the back end systems that are going on behind the scenes, you do notice that drawback in the experience. You do notice that things maybe aren't as modernized as what other suppliers may be, or maybe providing. So what are companies doing to overcome those challenges with legacy systems?
So I think there's a couple of things that they're trying to do. I think, as I said, there's the element of them scrambling to work around it. So they feel like maybe a total re-platform is an expensive, time-consuming thing. But so they kind of trying to put out fires here, there, and everywhere, trying to make the systems work, trying to make them talk to each other. Or then you do have those that actually realize a re-platform is probably actually the way to go. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of movement in the market at the moment, particularly this year. I think we've seen digital accelerate massively over the course of the last year for obvious reasons. And that's where a lot of what our businesses are trying to focus their efforts, because they recognize that this is a massive challenge for them. This is the only way they're going to be able to communicate with their customers.
Do you think there's a reluctance, though, to move away from a legacy system?
Yeah, I do. I think yeah, there's definitely a kind of, well, we've been using it for a number of years. It does the job we need it to, and I don't have to go through a project to kind of make some changes. And I think that's why there is a reluctance. I think in some ways it's an outdated way of thinking in terms of why there is this hesitancy to move away from the systems they have. They've probably got in-house expertise who know that system well and can get it to do things. And so a change in that is kind of almost scary in a way.
Yeah, but better the devil you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you'll know if you've watched one of our webinars before. I'm hoping you have. I'm sure you've watched all of them. We like to discuss a little bit about the past, understand the present, and explore what the future may look like for companies operating in regulated industries like water, energy, and financial services companies. With that said, particularly in relation to legacy systems, what is the history of digital platforms, and how have so many companies now found themselves on outdated technology that's inhibiting them from delivering the seamless customer experiences that the modern day consumer has just come to expect?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a minute ago, but I think there is this real concept of let's put it bluntly, the kind of utilities space, or kind of these commoditized spaces. It's not, you don't necessarily think, oh, I need to have the all singing, all dancing digital experience or customer experience. And that's, again, maybe slightly the wrong way to look at it. But I think it's definitely this kind of, if it's not broke, we're digitally present. Our customers can interact with us that way. So we're doing enough. So if it's not broke, why fix it? And I think that is a mentality in this particular industry. But I think the way I try and look at it is, yes, that might be true. But if I had a car when I was 18 and I could still drive it, I could probably still drive it now. I'd have to go find it, but it's probably rusting away somewhere. And it would still get me from A to B. But the costs to keep me going and keeping me on the road are going to be mounting up, and parts are becoming rare because they don't make them anymore. In this case, resources to manage the system becoming harder to find and more costly. And I don't have any of the if I want to connect my phone to the car, forget it. And so I'm trying to use an analogy here for the system, but I hope you kind of get what I mean. You can do what you can do the bare minimum, but I think customers are much more savvy now, and the bare minimum isn't enough, and that's where we're coming unstuck with the mismatch between that mentality and the consumer expectations.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Totally get that. It's a great analogy. My mum say at Ibiza probably still is around somewhere working, but I wouldn't want it back. I wouldn't want it back. Yeah. So I'm assuming that legacy systems are more. They must be more time consuming to operate. They can't be as efficient as a new system.
Yeah, as in.
Sorry.
They are. Yeah, they are more time consuming. As in, you've got. You might have people in the organization who can make it sing, and that's absolutely great. But they're a single point of failure almost. So once you then get to the stage of actually training someone new up on these systems and looking at how they operate and how they work, you're going to suddenly find these people are go, what? This is how things work. They've come from a different world. They come from a newer world. And yeah, it is particularly we find with people like marketers or people trying to get things done online. Actually, these legacy systems are so developer reliant to get things done and working and changes made and things put on your site or in other platforms, whatever it might be. And that's where the actual time to get things done is huge. So
yeah. No, it does. When you were talking about that before, it does sound like it could potentially cause a sort of skills issue further down the line. Updating or getting new developers new onto the scene, for want of a better way of putting it, to learn the systems, outdated systems. Can you also explain how legacy systems might cause issues with like siloed data and how that might affect a business?
Yeah, of course. So as I said, legacy systems or systems from 5-6 years ago aren't built with the kind of the connectivity in mind that modern day systems are, whether it's through various APIs, whether it's through like low code integration pieces, which is obviously something that we at Optimizely strive very hard to do. And this is because like modern day systems recognize that we aren't going to be the absolute everything, right? We need to connect to people's CRMs. You need to be able to pull in information from billing systems, from other sources. And so being able to pull that information together and then obviously being able to see for example, all your interactions with a particular customer from all these different systems, from a billing system, from a CRM system, from your website, and having all that in one place helps you make better decisions. And that simply isn't possible with the siloed data that you have in all these different systems today.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to move more into the now. I know we've discussed a bit about the pitfalls of outdated legacy technology from a company's perspective, but I'm sort of keen to understand how those companies' customers are affected. So in the opener for today's conversation, I stated that over 90% of consumers would rather switch providers than stay with a company that is using outdated technology. And though I appreciate that they might not know that, they know the experience that they're experiencing. What are the main pain points that customers experience from businesses continuing to use legacy systems?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it is the we've all had heightened expectations. We've all had a great digital experience, or we've all had a great experience of a company, and probably even more so over the course of the last year, because that's how we're interacting with everyone, right? So those heightened expectations aren't being, as we just already discussed, aren't being met or can't even be met by legacy systems because of those things we spoke about high siloed data and not being able to understand your consumer because you've got all this information about them all in different places. The other aspect of it is around consumers want to interact with you on their terms, and I think this is a really key one. A lot of businesses used to go to market, or in this case, they'd put it out, they've set up their customer, and the customer then has to interact with you in the way that you want to. And that doesn't work for people now. We either want to be able to interact with you on a mobile app, or I want to be able to interact with you on the website, or maybe some people still want to ring into a call center. And legacy systems mean that you've got all these different ways, and you can't really interact with the company on your terms, the way you want to interact with them. So that's another issue. And also the whole joined up experience is, so if I was to ring the call center and then I was to go into my app, is it a joined up experience? Does the app know that the conversation that I've had on the phone with the call center person, for example, and I can see what we discussed on there. Is it now in the application, so I can pay my bills or whatever it might be? So that joined up experience is a key issue for the consumers, I think. And yeah, that's
yeah, bro. And you mentioned before about integrations between old, outdated systems and new, more modern systems such as billing systems. Many of our customers and today's listeners will be familiar with those things. Why is it difficult to integrate these systems with outdated tech? And what are the sort of knock-on effects?
Yeah, so they're difficult to integrate, as in you can do it, and I'm sure many people on the call have, but they're not. They were never designed to speak to each other. You've had to get a consultant in, or someone in to write some code, or build something that integrates these systems, and then say that one of the systems totally upgrades their system. So you then have to plan, okay, if I'm upgrading this part here, I need to upgrade the billing system because the new update doesn't talk to that version of that particular piece of software. It's just, yeah, everything. The thinking behind legacy systems was never this connectivity that we see today. The term Internet of Things, it can mean absolutely anything, but that whole connectivity idea is where we're at today, and that really kind of slows down an organization when you're having to make those changes all the time. And I think you said earlier, right at the beginning, the cost of maintaining it's not just the cost of maintaining these systems and paying your maintenance to a particular software vendor or whatever it is, it's the cost of keeping them all going and talking to each other, and that's the real problem.
Yeah, I think as well though, I mean, I'm not sure you'll agree with this. Do you think that the companies relying on outdated systems could potentially damage their customer retention? That's certainly the way I understand it, because if it's having a knock-on effect on customers, surely, I mean, I would look elsewhere if my supplier wasn't providing something that a competitor was.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can look at many industries that have been kind of disrupted by exactly that, who you don't think you're going to get disrupted by it, particularly in this sector, maybe that you think, well, there's not that many different options for a customer to go to. But the same's true with banking, for example, right? Suddenly you got all these startups coming to the market who are offering really great digital experiences, and a lot of the big banks are running scared from it. And I think that's what you'll find in this sector as well, is you have some companies who are doing really, really good services, and that's where people are going, oh, well, actually, if I can do this, I can check that, and I can contact the support center in an emergency through an app, and all these great things. It does make you think around what you're going to do. If someone's had a bad experience, it doesn't matter what the cost is. I know in a lot of cases people probably seen it's all cost driven, and it's not. I think that might have been true 10 years ago. Everyone, don't get me wrong, everyone wants a good deal, everyone wants a good price, but it's not all about that anymore. So absolutely, I think it damages reputation if you're not able to give that customer experience. And as we've discussed quite readily, that experience comes from having a good platform to provide that.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So we've established the pitfalls that legacy systems can cause, the troubles and knock-on effects that they have. And we've also discussed the root causes of inefficiencies and why companies can choose to stay on outdated systems. But what's the future of the issue? Are the issues that companies are facing only going to intensify?
Yeah, totally. I think I said about it right at the top. Obviously, 2020 has been a crazy year, and if it has taught us anything, it sounded like a broken record a little bit, but it is that importance of digital experience. It has been the main, and in some cases the only way to engage with customers. So if you're not getting that right, as in the main way you're engaging with your customers, if you're not getting right, that is absolutely going to be an issue. And I think the other thing we've seen that the digital transformation, or it's accelerated by 4 years in the space of one, and that's a conservative estimate. A lot of analyst firms put it between 5 and 10, but I think 4 is pretty realistic in the space of 1 year. So that expectation of how everyone's interacting with companies digitally is only going one way, and the speed of change in this year has been massive. And there is going to be I think, internal pressures. Obviously, it has been a challenging year. Internal pressures to deliver on that experience are going to run up against those spiraling costs that we spoke about, and the talent depletion of people who understand those systems and are able to get them to do what you want. There's going to be a real depth of that talent. So people recognizing they need to do things, running up against those costs and talent depletion, I think is going to be a key issue for those that don't update or modernize.
Yeah, so yeah, it's fascinating about from the skills perspective, about, someone coming into the industry 10 years down the line, they're going to have no clue how to use something that was developed years before them, or years before their experiences came into play. So how can Optimizely help with overcoming these issues?
So yeah, I didn't want to make this about being a kind of business pitch, but so Optimizely is obviously titled a customer-centric digital experience platform, and what that means is that the customer outcome is at the absolute center of everything we do. It's a modern-based platform for delivering content, commerce as well, with personalization and experimentation in there. And the way it has been built with open APIs that allow connectivity to absolutely anything you want to, and there's many pre-built connectors to various different systems that are available in a applications marketplace that we have. It's a total platform. One of the key things I think that it helps with, particularly customers in this sector, is around the fact that because it's a platform as a service, it totally does away with any issues you might have around huge spikes or peaks in traffic when, I don't know, a water main bursts, or there's a power outage, or those sort of things where people are really hitting the site. The kind of auto scaling of being a platform takes away a lot of the issues that we didn't even touch on when we were talking about legacy systems in this sector. So that is where I think we can really help with these issues.
Brilliant. So migrating is, and you alluded to this earlier, it's a significant investment. Yeah. It's not just financially, but it's also one of time. I'm keen to understand how Optimizely can help companies achieve the ROI that we mentioned in our title, 299%. I'm also interested in how Optimizely can help with the migration process for digital teams that, most people we speak to, and most people I speak to are strapped for time. Time's precious.
Yeah. So yeah, that 299% ROI that you spoke about isn't just a figure that we've plucked out of the air. This is actually an independent analysis by the analyst firm Forrester, who spoke to a number of our customers and came up with a total economic impact study around our platform. And basically what it is due to, in this case, because we're not necessarily talking commerce side with here, we're talking about delivering a customer experience. Is what we're looking at is you're looking at the cost savings when it comes to time, you're looking at the speed of getting things done, you're looking at the amount of developers you need to have working on the system. So there's a real cost saving implication for modernizing the platform, and that's how that ROI is achieved. And I recommend anyone goes and reads this report. As I say, it's a real eye-opener, I found, in the fact that you think it's going to be a significant investment, and there's no getting away from it, it is. But if you can see an ROI, and that ROI at 300% is over the course of 3 years, but you're looking at a payback period within 6 months. So yes, it's an investment, but if you're going to get a payback within year and a 300% increase in the ROI for it, it really is a kind of, it needs to be a shift in mindset. It's a no-brainer when you look at it that way, because you're modernizing and you're saving money and you're making money, and the investment that you think you're making actually pays for itself within 6 months. So it's a shift of mindset for that. And in terms of how we can help companies, absolutely, we've got great partners like Mando who will do a lot of the work for you. They've got some great people there who work on the migration process. We've got tools, obviously, within the system that can pull the data from old systems into the new one as well. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a significant investment. It can be from digital teams inside an organization.
Bro. Okay, great. So before we move on to some questions from today's audience, I just wanted to ask you one last thing. Mm-hmm. We'd like to keep the conversation, the webinar's conversation led, and explore the key issues, which I think we've done. We'd also like to focus on the practical suggestions which can be implemented into our viewers' businesses to help them excel. With that in mind, what would you say are your top 3 key takeaways which companies can adopt to make a difference?
Yeah, okay. So I think
a big question.
Yeah. So I think 3 key takeaways quickly. I know we're running out of time. Is the first one is to be honest with yourself. There's a lot of companies who know they need to be doing something, and the best way to know what you need to do is to be honest with yourself and understand where you are today when it comes to both your digital operations and what you're delivering as a customer experience. Also recognize that not everything you're doing is bad. You will be doing some great stuff, I'm sure of it, okay? Focus on the areas that you need to improve that are going to deliver the biggest bang for your buck, and that will be a key factor in there. And then we spoke about in the last point here, build a business case around return on investment. It's what everyone needs to see at the moment. Like, budgets are tight, so building that business case around the return on investment is going to go a long way. So they would be my kind of 3 key takeaways.
Brilliant, really insightful. Thanks, Chris. Right, question from the audience. Rob, do you have any questions that you can share with us, please?
Yes, Luke. Good morning, everyone. We've got one, slightly covered it with the ROI towards the end there, Chris, but let me just read it out. So many of us will have at least one important system that's not fit for purpose. How can vendors that we work with, like Optimizely, help with building that business case to get buy-in to upgrade those systems?
Yeah, I can take that one. So in terms of helping you build that business case, I said I think ROI is a key factor in that. So we do have an ROI model that we can kind of run through to help you build that business case that's actually specific to you, not necessarily just the coverall from the various things in that report. So we can help you with that business case. The other aspect is around what I spoke about in terms of helping you, or be honest with yourself where you're at, know you need to do something. Is, again, this is another model that you can just go away, do yourselves, or someone from Mando or ourselves can talk to you about, is a digital agility model, which lists out what the kind of 10 things you should be doing in customer experience and 10 things you should be doing on a digital operations side. And there's kind of 4 stages of kind of basic to the really, really flying. And that model will help you with that piece around understanding where you're at today and spotting those gaps of what you could be doing better. So they're the kind of 2 areas I'd focus on with looking at helping you with a business case. That's
great, Chris. Yeah, it's certainly about being clear on the system requirements that you need to achieve those goals, and demonstrating to the business the impact of those systems, which are preventing you from achieving those goals. So no, thank you, Chris. Yeah. That's all, Luke. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Oh, well, thank you very much, Chris, for spending some time with us this morning. I really appreciate that. And thank you to those that have joined us on the call this morning. Chris mentioned a Forrester report earlier. We'll be sure to share that with today's listeners. Yeah, thanks again, Chris, and thanks to those who have joined. We'll be sure to share the webinar early next week. Thank you very much and have a good day. See you now.
Great. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Chris. Bye.